In November of the last NBA season, All-Star Jimmy Butler was traded to the 76ers from the Minnesota Timberwolves. Jimmy was viewed as the missing piece of the 76ers puzzle, and the expectations skyrocketed for that team, and even more so after the Tobias Harris trade. This 76ers team was loaded and looked like it had a bright future up ahead. But then, one fateful day, Kawhi Leonard hit a game-winning shot in the NBA playoffs. After that, all seemed to crumble around them. To much of everybody's surprise, Butler turned out to be just a one-year rental. In the end, Jimmy Butler decided the best place was to take his talents to South Beach and join the Miami Heat. The 76ers almost seemed to mutually oblige and assisted in a sign and trade to Miami. This left many wondering what exactly happened, and why would Jimmy Butler want to leave what seemed to be a team destined for greatness in the future. Well, in a recent interview on the JJ Redick podcast, Jimmy Butler finally revealed some details as to what exactly happened and what led to his departure. First and foremost, the biggest takeaway from this interview was when Jimmy said about his time in Philly, and I quote, "Hell yeah, it was difficult. It was so different. On any given day, me as a person, as a player, I don't know who was in charge. I think that was my biggest thing." This quote is quite astounding to hear, but makes more sense if you see how the Sixers have performed this year. Brett Brown is becoming more and more a controversial head coach for not executing with an embarrassment of riches and talent. The fact that Brett Brown is from the famed Spurs system, to have this level of disorganization and lack of leadership is quite frankly shocking, and should raise red flags to all who follow the Sixers. Jimmy even said he didn't know what to expect whenever he went to the gym or onto the plane. Whenever he got in the game, he didn't know what was happening. He did not know what was coming next. He was at a complete loss other than just showing up and then hoping and expecting nothing. Imagine going into an NBA organization and not knowing what to expect day to day. What team can expect to compete for a title under those circumstances? The practices were not put together well. He didn't know when he was coming in or out of games. His role was constantly changing. There was no certainty to anything the Sixers were doing. Butler even told a story about a film meeting where nobody was talking at all, and they were just clicking through film, and suddenly it ended. And he was dumbfounded as to what the point of the meeting was. Nobody said a word in the entire meeting. Just the sound of clicking, going from film piece to different film. Nobody said a word. This shows how dysfunctional this team really is. Butler even called out Brown for changing how the team ran entirely in the playoffs. It went from Simmons being on the ball with Butler off the ball to the exact opposite. Brett Brown just randomly decided to change that up in the playoffs. Something they had done the entire season, Brett Brown decided to switch completely come playoff time, which caused confusion on the team and angered Simmons and maybe even made him resent Jimmy for taking his role. Brown's decisions and how he ran this team, according to Butler's stories, is mind-boggling. Jimmy said as soon as Kawhi hit that game-winning shot, he just knew deep down that he was going to leave this team. He did not know where or why. He just had that feeling that his time with the Philadelphia 76ers had come to an end. And lo and behold, it proved to be true. As we all know, he is now with the Heat. If you take a look at how both teams have fared this year, the Heat have, to an extent, overperformed, and the Sixers have underperformed. Their records are nearly identical. And I think, from the 76ers perspective, having a talent like Jimmy Butler on this year's team probably would have made a difference in how they've done. Of course, Butler probably would never have come back as long as Brett Brown is running this organization. Point being, if Brett Brown were to have left and Jimmy Butler were to have stayed, the 76ers would probably be much better overall and also have a much smoother operation with less confusion and more organization. But as we all know, Jimmy has left. He is thriving on the Heat. The Heat have uncovered some young talents with Bam and others, and they seem to be trending in the right direction while the Sixers are not. That might just show you how differently the Miami Heat and the 76ers operate. One appears to be much better than the other. What do you think is the craziest thing about Jimmy Butler's time in Philly? Thank you for watching another video on 3 Letter League. Please be sure to subscribe and like.